Welcome to Sandra P's Gen Extra. I hope everyone is doing great tonight. I hope you are enjoying your weekend so far. And this is a live, everybody. We are live. So welcome in, please come in, click the like button. And if you will, also, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to tell you, there's a trigger alert, there is a spoiler alert, there's every type of an alert that you need for this. We're going to discuss Unknown Number, the Netflix documentary, the Netflix special. So excuse me while I try, let me not even start this, try to get acclimated stuff, okay? For those of you that are new, I am Sandra P's Gen Extra. And those of you that have been here, I'm still Sandra P's Gen Extra. But welcome to everyone that is always here, my day ones, my new subscribers, people that are just curious and popped in because they saw the title, Unknown. If you've already seen the documentary, come in. We're going to discuss. There's trigger alert, spoiler alert, every kind of alert. If you've not seen it yet and you don't mind spoilers, you're welcome to stay. If you're still watching it, there are spoilers because it is kind of a whodunit, but it's a nationwide news story. So there's really, if you haven't seen it by now and you were planning on watching it, this is kind of the last final couple of warning. You can stay in until you think that, okay, I don't want to know the whodunit part of it. So come in, click the like button. I thank all of you, everyone that is here. This is so interesting, y'all. This was amazing to me. This is called Unknown, and it's Unknown Number. They called it a catfish, but I thought of it more as a stalking situation. And one of the police officers that ends up getting involved saw it as that same type situation as well. So, hey, the network specialist, thank you for coming in. The network specialist is a great creator. And this is a Netflix documentary, Unknown Number. I'm going to give like a small recap. And then as people come in, if they've seen it, they can give their thoughts as well on these parents. So we have the two parents, Kendra and Sean, are the parents of the main character. You did see it. I thought it was wonderful. We'll talk about what you thought about it. And I feel like, and I didn't know a lot of the news coverage. I didn't know about the twist. I didn't know any of that. So I was a fresh set of eyes to it. And that's why I was excited to discuss it with people that have already seen it. So let's see, with this starts out, of course, it's in high school. It's in a very small town in Michigan. I think they said they had a few hundred people at the high school, but they keep saying the high school. But Lauren, who is one of the central characters, a young lady who is centered to this story, she lets us know that this is a really close-knit town. She's called it a one stoplight, two bar town. So that is the type of place that it was in Michigan. Everybody knows each other. All the parents know all of their children. The parents went to school together. It just seemed really close-knit. That has to have its benefits, but it also has the downside too, which we could see as this documentary keeps going on. But Lauren is the main character. Kendra is her mother. Sean is her dad. Kendra is a mother. The way she's presented in the documentary, she is very involved in her daughter's life. But again, this is not a stretch because it's a small town. All the parents grew up knowing each other. The kids now all know each other. And that high school, they call it the high school, but the grades in that same building are kindergarten through 12. So that's crazy right there. Kindergarten through 12. So I found it interesting how they start laying it out. And it just looks like one of those snapped episodes where they're giving you the idyllic part of it. And they're talking about the family structures, all the different families. One of the other central characters, is Owen. I don't really want to mess with this too much. I'm just going to have to leave my picture right there, y'all. But on the thumbnail, that's Sean, Lauren, and that's Kendra behind me with shades. But I believe I'm covering Lauren's face, which is okay. That's the daughter. Everyone is 18 plus now. I even saw one of the other young ladies on a TikTok she was doing to get her side out, the one that was started to be called a bully, Chloe. So this is a trip. This went on, the time frame was between 15 months and 2 years. So they start out with the Lauren character. She and Owen, who've known each other from school. As I said, they all went to school together. They start dating, and it's the cutest little thing. His mom says he came home. He said that he met a little girl, a cute little blonde girl in his class. He has a crush on her. They look very similar to me. They would put their pictures up. Owen and Lauren were one of those cute little couples. They started being referred to as the golden couple. And they all had the same circle of friends, but that school, if you've watched any of the romantic comedies from the 80s, the 90s, even now, it's the same thing. And high school is kind of the same. You'll have certain groups. You might have a group of jocks. Those will be the ones that play sports. You have your artsy kids. You have the introverts. You have the loners. There's all these little different groups, and they may interact. Just because this is such a small high school, that is how they interact. But everybody really sticks to their own square. The groups, when they do interact, sometimes it's a problem because you have a hierarchy with that, because the parents and also the teachers, they know all of the kids. They all grew up together, and you can kind of see some of that dynamic in this as well. Yes, it's most small towns, it's K through 12 network specialists. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but that was so interesting. One of my moderators, DJ P, came in. It did remind me of Snap. Yeah, the way they were laying it all out. So Kendra, she was sitting up there. Butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. I know that people, you've already said you've seen it, and it is spoilers, trigger alert, spoiler alert. So Kendra is actually presented the first half of the documentary. She is the daughter's, she's the basketball coach. I thought Kendra was doing a lot. She's a basketball coach. She ended up being the boyfriend Owen's track coach. So she was doing a lot of different things at the school. She had a trusted position at the school. She was good friends with Owen's mother, Jill. Chloe, the one of the students, she's an athlete. She's kind of an extrovert. Her father was the cop. He was bragging about a lot of people in the town. They might be jealous because Chloe has friends among different, even she's known among high schools. So you could see where these parents are kind of living vicariously through their daughter. They're proud of Chloe, and that Chloe is able, he said, she's a leader. She's able to kind of rein people in and kind of move pieces around on a chessboard the way that she wants to. So Chloe is a character. Now, later on, I didn't agree with what they were doing. Chloe started to be, they were suspicious of her toward the end too. But we'll just go on. We haven't received any text yet. Chloe's family, Chloe Wilson, her father, her mother, they kept referring to this to a Halloween party. When I saw Chloe on TikTok, she's clarifying that everyone in the town is usually stops by or is invited. She wouldn't call it a party, but it's one of those haunted trails. So I'm familiar with that. I live in a state where they do actually do the haunted trails now. That's no fun to me. That's crazy, y'all, to go out in the woods and be scared to death. There's a story time behind that. It wasn't fun at all. And this one was thrown by a church group. I wouldn't be caught dead out in the woods with some of these groups now, particularly, let me not even go into that. But that's what Chloe clarified, that this party, everyone's usually invited to. She said no one was not invited. I didn't know if I believed her or not, because in the documentary, Owen and everyone else was very clear. This year, the daughter, Lauren, she did not get, and she was Owen's girlfriend at the time. Lauren did not get an invitation. But Chloe is saying behind the scenes that everybody's invited. Kendra seems like a climber, someone who wants to be a popular kid and will go over the top to do that. You can see some of the dynamic going on between her and her daughter, Lauren. So Kendra, I think that the lack of invite would have ate Kendra up more so than it would have Lauren, or even the dad, Sean. Sean seemed like one of those guys, kind of a cute guy, especially as compared to Kendra. I'm just going to say it, y'all. No love lost between Kendra and myself, as we'll see going throughout the documentary. Excuse me. So I'm not going to bite my tongue as far as Kendra's concerned. But she seemed like she would really want to be involved in anything that's going on in the town. She's one of those moms that is doing everything at the school, baking cookies. She's a coach for all these different teams. She's befriending her boyfriend's daughter's mother. She's always at their house. They're at each other's house. He's too good for her. Sean, I started thinking that too. Yeah, so then as the whole Halloween party was the first time we started hearing something of a text message. And what the text message was, it was, I won't call it harmless because of where they led to. It was something about, oh, we're going to be at that party and I'm going to be with Owen and he doesn't really like you. The text started out kind of just telling Lauren that he doesn't really like you. And then they started to go things about her appearance. You're flat A, stop wearing leggings. He don't want your anorexia behind and all that kind of stuff. Then they started to get a little more graphic, sexually graphic. I will say that. And let me say this about Kendra also. Okay, we'll just let the cat out of the bag. As they go through and we start to see one of the main characters is one of the ones writing the text, I don't feel like the sexual element was treated as importantly as it should have been. I think that was kind of swept under the rug a little bit, because we have to remember this is ninth grade. So this was fall of the year. These two were dating now. So they have known each other since they were very small kids, but they're 14 years old now. They have not said anything about that they're sexually active. So I choose to believe that they were not. So some of these text messages, as they start to introduce more of that language, I feel like it should have been very, very serious charges brought on that. So, so they start to get these texts. Lauren she's an introvert, but she's confident. I thought she's an athlete. She gets out there, run up and down the court. She plays basketball. These texts start to chip away at her esteem. Kendra and I think Owen's mom name is Jilly. They go to the principal's office to try to find out. We need to know who's sending these texts. And then because the text was mainly attacking Lauren and then trying to break up her and Owen. I like the way that the documentary, it did remind me of Snap. I like the way that it would talk to all of the central characters and kind of let us know what was going on in that town. We get everyone's point of view. We have 3 girls that were surrounding Chloe. They were all on the basketball team as well. They all knew Lauren, but Lauren wasn't within that group of friends. So there was some kind of hard feelings about maybe her coming in and snatching Owen kind of away from these girls, because we find out later that Chloe maybe had a bit of a crush on Owen. They have known each other all these years. All their families are friends. So they started to all be within this same circle of friends. Owen's dating Lauren, and Chloe may be jealous. I'm not sure. There is a cousin that's introduced later. I'm sorry, y'all. I had all these names down, but I don't think I saved correctly, because I'll just have to go through. If I miss someone's name and it comes back to me or someone fills it in, I will go ahead and say it. But he had his cousin, I think her name was Allison. She was on the basketball team as well, but she was one of the introverts. She started having a hard time with there's these 3 other ladies that are a little more popular, Chloe's group. Chloe's parents tell us that, yeah, people have been saying Chloe's a bully for years, since whatever the lower grades. So that would kind of give a red flag to me about my child. Owen, him being a boy, he doesn't say, he said, I would not call Chloe a bully, but I will say that she's not nice. You know how some teenage boys are, even when they roast each other or whatever, that doesn't make them hate the person. They may even get into a fight, but they don't act like girls will and kind of hold stuff in. Even though the girls play team sports as well, it's just different the way they handle themselves versus the boys. The boys weren't really involved. Now, Owen was receiving these texts as well as his girlfriend, Lauren, but he wasn't involved in a lot of the other stuff that was going on. Lauren was trying, to me, not to be involved as well. She wasn't close friends with Courtney and the other group of friends. Owen's cousin, Allison, when she started getting picked on, she told a story of those Chloe and her trio throwing carrots at her. They claimed that never happened. One little girl looked really shocked. Why would we throw carrots? I mean, nobody even said, she said that we threw carrots at her. And I immediately knew that they threw carrots at this girl. The girl stopped wanting to go to school. But what ended up happening is that her mother got on Facebook and wrote a generic post about, let's not raise bullies. Let's teach our children to respect each other, this and that. Of course, this is just my opinion, the cop would get upset about that. He felt like people are jealous of his daughter because she's got all these friends. And then they started suspecting Chloe of writing these texts. Owen has his separate friendship with Chloe. Lauren mentioned, she said, well, I noticed that she would sometimes try to talk to Owen in front of me and make me jealous. Owen just seemed like one of those kids that is going to be friends with everybody. He's athletic. Of course, toward the end, maybe because they were only 14, toward the middle of this story and these texts, as they started to get more and more texts, the texts are more and more graphic. They are pulling at Lauren's self-esteem. The 2 of them break up. And a lot of the texts are, he's going to break up with your skinny, but he doesn't want you. You're not doing this to him. You're not giving him, they were very graphic, y'all. You're not giving him BJs, certain type of jobs, okay? As I said, I choose to believe these children were not sexually active, but these texts started to put that into the text messages. Very filthy stuff about what they would do with Owen and why Owen wouldn't want Lauren because she's not fulfilling these duties supposedly girlfriends would have. But again, they're 14 years old. This is ninth grade, y'all. So Kendra, her and Jill are flying up into the superintendent's office, the principal's office. Everybody, there's videotapes and everything in the hallway. The administrator's telling Chloe, come see me when you get a text and I'll pull the immediate video and we'll find out. Y'all, this went on for 15 months. Now you see the demographics of the people that were going through 15 months. Lauren sometimes doesn't want to go to school. She's crying. Owen and her have broken up. Different girls are being called into the office, questioned. Everyone is suspicious of everyone. People are confused. Jill even said, I talked to the principal and I asked, well, can we interview the kids? These two women thought they were going to be interviewing other people's children. The superintendent put the brakes on that and was like, no, that's not going to go how you think it's going to go. You're not going to be interviewing other people's children so we can find out who sent these texts. We're not able to do that. So the cop, of course, was glad about it, the wife, because that's just infringing on people's rights. And then he thought, the mother even said, well, they're crazy if they thought that he was going to let them do that. I didn't agree with these Chloe's people on much, but I agree with them on that. So they split up. Welcome in, CC. Thank you so much. The network specialist, I was very surprised at the graphic nature of the text as well. Since I brought in the sexual component, there's a trigger alert, y'all. Since I brought that in, the other part I want to bring in is when, as Lauren started to get more down and more down, the text would say they were trying to split her and Owen up, always. That was the general consensus. But they started to say things like, the world will be better off without you. Just get out of here. You ruined Owen's life. You've messed up his life. Nobody would miss you if you weren't here. These sorts of things. So 15 months in, y'all, almost a year and a half, 2 years in. This went on over 2 years. All that time in, they finally got a police officer. He came in, he starts questioning everybody. I go back and forth what I think about his handling of the case was. I wasn't impressed with the officer. I just wasn't. Something about his face. He reminded me of a Tommy from Power, but if Tommy were real corny and just didn't have his own swag. But there was something about the cop that I didn't really care for. What I did like about him, he was the one that suggested when Chloe started being kind of suspected, he suggested that they dump her phone. I don't know why they didn't do that to all of the phones and early on, because that was able to clear Chloe. They pull all the messages, texts, pictures, locations, all of that. And there was nothing suspicious about Chloe's phone. She was not the one sending the texts. So it wasn't Chloe. So we find out that, nope, there's nothing that is outing anybody as far as who did this, no suspects. So they the police officer that was involved ended up pulling in the FBI. So I feel like 15 months, almost 2 years in, they should have did that, especially when Lauren started getting things that were threatening her mental health. Owen got some that were like that. They said, Owen, you are the biggest PUSSY. And Owen, being a teen boy, he answered in text, if you call me, and I don't know how he was going to do this because he didn't know who it was. If you call me that again, I will find you. I'll kick your A. And his mother, Jill, said, we started to see aggression in Owen because he just felt so powerless in this other area of his life. On the basketball court, we started to see, he would have hard fouls on people and he was just having a hard time. Now, the strangest thing that happened, one of the stranger things, after Owen and Lauren broke up, he was, still going to his different games. He found a girlfriend that was about 2 hours or so away from his city. He started dating her. Things are going fine. He said, I started to feel happy again. The girl calls or texts him and says, my mom just got a text kind of warning me away from you and saying that I'm not supposed to date you or something like that. Owen ends up breaking up with the girl. And because this was terrifying, he said, now I feel like I'm targeted. And even if I talk to anybody, then now they're going to be a target. We get a very concerned confessional. It's not confessional. I recap reality shows and I call them confessionals, but maybe it was an interview with the mother, Jill. She says, now I always knew there's stalking going on, but he's being watched so closely. How do they get a number to text someone of a person that I don't even know? She didn't even know the girlfriend's mother yet. So y'all, this is so crazy. Yeah, I was so happy when the FBI got involved. I couldn't believe with the advancement of technology that the police couldn't figure it out. Yes, and this is the time frame, everybody. Okay, the suspect was arrested. This was August of 2024. They had the court case, and she went before then. She went to jail. This person right above me, Kendra. This was so strange. Let me start from this part. Kendra is the mother of Lauren. So Kendra is home one day. The FBI does another dump because they were looking for any numbers in common, anything like that. They do end up getting a warrant for the mother to match numbers. And the only numbers that they matched, it came up being Kendra, Lauren's mother, y'all, that was helping this girl get through this all these years. This was after the FBI got involved. So they finally found out that it was Kendra. It was the mother. Look at her, y'all. And she's going to play her crazy card. And she was doing it with the help of the police officer, which is why I had a problem with the way this was handled. So when they find out about the number, the FBI and the officer go over. I found out that that was his body cam that they used, y'all. They used the body cam. They come into the house. It's a modest home. There was Sean, which is the husband, Lauren's father, and Kendra's husband. Sean was telling us, he said, we were so stressed. We were arguing at each other. There was so much stress in the house. The texts were coming, y'all, at a clip of something like 30 or 40 a day. We find out later after that Kendra is caught, and she kind of confesses, but I feel like she lied. She said, I'm not the one that sent the first few texts. Remember, they started around Halloween, and they were kind of innocuous. They weren't anything too crazy. But the ones that she admits to sending, and as they went on over the 2-year period and became sexually graphic and trying to cause minors to delete themselves, just terrible. She never showed remorse. Yes, the cop made me mad. Same, I feel the same. Never showed remorse. And saying that to her daughter, we ain't even on the essay. No, we're not. They're not talking about essay, because you see that woman, she might as well be Mary Kay Letourneau. Some of you may be too young to know her. If you're Gen X, you know her. She's the woman that, I'm not going to call it an affair. She violated one of her students. This boy was about 12 or 13 years old when she started to violate him. And his parents were kind of okay with them having a relationship. Long story short, A Current Affair, all those different shows that used to be around at that time, Entertainment Tonight, they kind of didn't want to do anything to this lady, Mary Kay Letourneau. She's passed away from cancer. She ended up married to this boy. And her husband, he was just always shocked. He's like, her and him, they're being put up as this couple, and she destroyed our family, and she violated someone's child. This is what this reminds me of with Kendra, because remember when I told y'all, the first few texts were like, oh, you're not going to the party, and I'm going to be there with Owen. I'm going to do this and that for him. And then they're talking about her daughter's appearance. You can't do this for him like I can. All tech of a sexual nature. When they confronted her, they didn't really bring that up. And she looked so guilty. She was saying, oh, does she have to find out about it? She didn't want her daughter to know. Welcome in, Troy 612. That's one of my moderators. Welcome in. We've already gotten to the part. I've caught up the first 15 months to 2 years where this is going on. So when the court, I don't know how she can reference school, because what happened was when the sheriff and the FBI came by the house, he was like, Kendra, I got to talk to you. She was already looking guilty. Like, what? She was outside. She tried to go toward this outhouse that they had, like a shed of stuff they had back there. We find out from Sean during the course that they have moved like 4 or 5 times. They were having financial troubles. This comes up in the investigation too. They tell Kendra, your number came up. You're responsible for sending the text. She's looking guilty, looking stupid. And then she's like, what? No. So she said, well, I didn't send the first couple of, and the cop becomes very gentle with her. Like, we know there's a lot of stresses that can happen, this, that, and the other. It's out of our hands. Your daughter is going to have to find out. Can we go in her room? She's like, no, can you bring her out here? So she's already kind of running things. She's being treated to me with kid gloves. And they really should have been a lot more aggressive with her, especially with the nature of some of these texts. So Kendra's sitting there looking stupid. They bring Lauren out. The police officer has to tell her, your mother, the texts were traced back to her. Lauren just went, y'all. She was, I guess, 14 or 15. This has been going on 2 years, maybe 15. She's sitting on a little stool or something. She kind of like folded into herself. So, and Kendra, I thought was being very fake. Oh, like, she said for the daughter. And I thought the cop, I don't know their training. I don't know what he should have done. But he was letting Kendra comfort Lauren. And Lauren was just, and he said, I'm going to call your dad. I'm going to call Sean. He gets Sean on the phone. Here's Troy 612 to moderate. That's BS. There was nobody else sending the text but her. I don't buy that for a second. I don't buy it for a second either. It was her. It was her. And then the fact that he didn't dispute her when she told that lie. Delusional. She was delusional. Exactly. And why didn't arrest her right then? The husband made me giggle. Yeah, let's get back to Sean. So they're in the kitchen. He said, and I'm going to call your dad. Because that was good because Lauren did need support. Kendra, this nut, she's the only one there to support the daughter, and she's the cause of poor Lauren's distress. So Lauren's all upset. She's sitting there. He says, you call him. So I don't know which phone they use. They use a phone. Sean picks up automatically, and the cop starts. She's like, hey, Dad, or whatever she called him. And the police officer started saying, I hate to tell you this news. We did find out about the text. And Sean's like, what's going on? Because why he hate to tell him the news? What's going on? He said, the numbers trace back that it's Kendra. Sean, like, my wife, Kendra? He said, yeah, it's your wife. He said, I'm going to need you to get home and come here to your daughter. So Sean, in the documentary confessional, he's telling us, he's looking ahead like, I can't believe that this was my wife. I just can't believe that this was my wife. He said, I fly home. So he starts telling us what's happening from here. He gets outside. The sheriff and the FBI meet him outside. And they said, we've taken Kendra's phone. Sean automatically, thank you, Sean. He started outing this woman. He automatically said, oh, which phone? Because she has more than one device. There was a laptop. He told on the phone. He said, oh, we only have one phone. So he said, and what else is going on? They started running down the texts and everything. And he said, well, she doesn't work at Ferris. She's lost that job about a year ago. She lost a job a year ago. Remember, I told y'all that during the course of this, 4 or 5 times, these people have had to move their home 4 or 5 times in the course of less than 2 years. So they were having financial issues. Now, Kendra, look at her, y'all, right above me, looking stupid. This woman got the nerve. She claims that she has these 2 jobs. The cop has already let Sean know, Ferris University or something. She had lost that job a year ago. He said, well, she was fired or she quit. Found out I think she was fired. And the sheriff said, and I have some people that work there and they know more details about it. There was another job she was supposed to have. Now, meanwhile, she's supposed to be in charge of all the finances. We see Sean in his truck and working. He put me in the mind of maybe a contractor or something, which in my personal experience, they're good at making money, some of them, but they may not have a business mind. There's always another business mind that has to work with a contractor. They deal with a lot of cash. They deal with a lot of wires. They have to have a lot of 30-day pays where they're waiting to get their money and then they may be paying out another big bill. So contractors, they need a business mind. Kendra's no dummy. Kendra had so-called, we don't know, but she supposedly had a job in tech at Ferris University. And we found that out. That was another thing that during the course of the FBI. So when they go in the house and he's like, well, what about the other device? She's sitting there looking stupid, talking about what? And then the FBI, he was tired of her already because the small town cop, I'm sorry, y'all, over 2 years, he had developed kind of a compassion for Kendra that she didn't deserve. Because when he came in and he was like, well, where's the other device? Remember, y'all, when he said, we know that you sent the messages, she only gave him one phone. She's like, where's the other device? So then he has to kind of milk it out of her. Well, was it toward the outbuilding that when we came up and first saw you? Yeah. And the FBI just spoke up and said, this warrant authorized us to tear this whole house up. I don't want to tear this whole house up, but we'll tear this whole house up. You know, they like to start tearing up. And I'm sorry, but if Kendra had looked like me, they would have already had my issue all up in the air. Especially the nature of these texts. Just crazy. Oh, my goodness. Here's one. Let me look at this. Let me go back. Y'all, I'm going to try to read as many comments as I can so we can discuss it. Child, did y'all notice the alcohol on the table? Yes, I did notice that. The empty bottles. Y'all, this house there's a lot going on in this house. Kendra is mental. Sean is detached. I don't know if there was an attraction between them or not. She'd been lying for years. Here we go. She'd been lying for years about working. I don't know how the husband couldn't tell she wasn't working. Shaking my head. I don't know either. Even if she's in charge of the finances, where is the money? They should have been living a lot more comfortably. And then when you lose the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, you've moved 5 times. He gets in a confessional and tells us, and one of the moves, we put everything, my tools, everything in the storage unit. A lot of people that move end up doing that so they don't lose their stuff. And they can pay that. Y'all, why did it used to be like 30 days free and then like 30 a month? It's hundreds of dollars now to keep your stuff in storage. But he said, I told her that, all of our stuff, everything we own is going to be in storage, my work tools, everything. She said, don't worry about it. That's just a small bill. Do y'all know Kendra didn't pay that bill and let the storage unit go? Where people come in there and they auction off and buy and sell your stuff. He said, I lost everything. And guess who else lost everything? Lauren has lost everything. So Kendra is sitting there looking stupid. I thought the cop was really making excuses for her. We know that financial troubles, this, that, and the other. I'm with the network specialist, though. The husband brought up the second phone. I think he was ready for her to go to jail. I'm glad you said that, the network specialist, because when they were still outside and he said, my wife, you saying that my wife did this? He said, yeah, we found out, we traced the number back. She had sent all the texts. He said, should she go to jail? He was trying to figure out like what's going on. And then somebody else made another comment that Michael Mann, that's the local cop. Okay. Yeah, he's like a swagless Tommy from Power. Network specialist, when you watch that scene, you probably were fixated on Lauren. I just as a teen, and then to watch her mother manipulate her in real time. Woo! But right directly behind her was a table full of what looked like empty alcohol bottles. So either Kendra and or Sean have a serious problem. He was acting a little slow. He seemed like one of those men. He'll get his truck, he'll go to work, he'll do the work part of it, but then Kendra was in charge of all their finances, but she wasn't even doing that well. And then, y'all, the other side of it, her and Jill, who was Owen's mother, had become really good friends. Jill lets us know that during the course of while all this was going on, they started becoming closer. They were in the principal's office every week, or the administrator. They were trying to do their own investigations. When they told Jill, she was so shocked. She said, no, I don't believe that it's Kenya. What proof do you have that it's Kenya? They had to run down everything that they dumped the phones. Also during this, y'all, the cops would always suggest, well, maybe you could take Owen's phone, and also with Kendra, maybe you'll take Lauren's phone. Well, no, the kids need a phone. And the principal was so silly, y'all. He said, well, I work out of my phone, so I didn't really want to take all the kids' phone during the day. I'm sorry, but with the problems that these phones caused, and then with the suicidal nature of it, there was one text that was very heartbreaking. L'Oreal got broken down about her. Why you got these leggings on? She was a very petite, thin girl. She was in a bunch of sports, so she's not putting on any weight, and that was just her body weight. So this was an insecurity that she had. So for now, who we know her mother, Kendra, sending this girl this stuff, and you're never going to get Owen back. No boyfriend's going to be near this stink PUS. This lady is disgusting, y'all. This lady is a predator. There's something wrong with Kendra, allegedly, and in my opinion. Let me find a banner. I get mad just thinking about it. This was so disgusting, very disgusting. These are my opinions about Kendra and the manipulation of her daughter. But one of those texts where she spoke about how skinny she is, her anorexia, she could have triggered anorexia in the girl. She already had her where she didn't want to play basketball. So she started breaking her down. Kendra sent back this little text like, okay, not Kendra. Kendra's the mother. Lauren sent back this text like, okay, what do you want me to do? Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And I can't remember. She might have even sent her another one of those, the world's better off without you type things. They ask her about that because now she comes back in a face full of tears. Woo! Her cry face is even uglier than her real face. I was disgusted that the documentary tried to kind of polish her a little bit. This happened to me, that happened to me. I had the R word at 17. My daughter was getting to this age. I didn't want this to happen to her. I'm not buying any of it. I'm calling bull. I don't think that's the reason she did this. I think she was living vicariously through her daughter. I think she was jealous of her daughter. I think Lauren maybe had the looks that Kendra as a teen maybe would have wanted to have or envied. And she wanted to live life through Lauren. And she's probably looking at Lauren just being quiet and an introvert into her sports, but kind of doing her own thing. And was thinking like, well, if I was 14 and I had all this going on, I'd be doing this, this, and this. And Kendra had a crush on Owen. I've mentioned Mary Kay Letourneau. Yeah, they lost all this. Oh, yeah. See it again. Yeah, the husband acts like he's slow. And DJP, I'm going to run a bunch of comments and then I'll go back and talk about it, y'all, because these trigger things that I haven't remembered. The husband act like he's slow. Network specialist, you got to see it again. It was so much. I think Sean just stayed with her. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't try to do one of these long 3 or 4 episodes. Netflix takes up too much of our time with that. I like the little hour and a half documentary thing. And then anything you want to fill in, you would just go ahead and read the news stories too. They lost all their storage stuff. Yeah, that was Kenya's fault. His tools, in addition to sentimental values, sentimental items. Now, I noticed they didn't have a lot of family when Kendra is so much into everything that's going on at the school. Kendra was running that house, shaking my head. Yes, and ill-equipped to do so. Ill-equipped to do so. DJP's laughing at Sean. He definitely was done. Yeah, he wanted her to go to jail. Jill and Sean was the only parents worth anything. Yeah, Jill is Owen's mother. And Jill, the comment she brought up, she was like, all of these texts of a sexual nature toward Owen, I'm so surprised about that. I'm shocked about that. Nobody could believe it. At one point, the administrator said, some of those texts had me blushing. I'm a 53-year-old man. But like I said, certain ones of these women, these Mary Kay Letourneaus, they do not want people to call them PDF files and all this kind of stuff. But if you are attracted to a child children, I don't care if you think that the child is giving you eyes or attracted back or whatever, children cannot legally consent to sexual acts. So you are PDF file, Kendra, anyone that's doing that. And she did want Owen. She was straight hating on her daughter, and to tell her to delete herself, that's the ultimate. That was the ultimate. To actually say that was terrible. And them never taking the phone was idiotic. It was. Y'all, the whole thing, as far as with the phones, the documentaries was saying, they were like, well, that's the only thing we really have to entertain ourselves with. I'm like, as a country, can we get back to reading? This is getting scary. Nobody reads anymore. And we used to have, when we had the little parties and stuff like that, boys would write you notes. It's like I'm talking about the olden days. It's not that long ago. But these phone, and that unknown number, all that crap that Kendra was popping, she couldn't have said that stuff in person and wouldn't have. Because when Owen threatened to get with her, even though he didn't know who it was, like, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, she kind of like cooled off a little bit talking to him like that. But we found out from Jill that these texts were anywhere from 30 to 40 a day. They would go on to 1, 3 in the morning. We find out from Kendra, because she lied about her jobs, she wasn't working. She was just doing the volunteer stuff with the school. They did a confessional with Lauren, and she ends up saying, I don't know when my mom found time to even do all this stuff. Did she really do it? So Kendra's already playing with Lauren's mind. I believe Lauren did it from the first text to the last. I just do. Oh, we're getting opinion from network specialists at DJP that alcohol probably was consumed by Sean. That's probably why he didn't know what was going on in the house. He was too drunk. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. There's something definitely broken down within that family. What I did like is that when the cops met him outside, and he's like, should she go to jail? Then they all went into the house, and he was letting her know, you cannot stay here tonight. You ain't got to go home, but you will not be here. I've already called your parents. I told them I'll talk to them face to face. They're on their way to get you. Kendra's trying to manipulate Lauren. My daughter, I don't know how she's going to even go to school after this. She's going to need me. He's like, no, your parents are coming to pick you up. I was with Sean. And then, y'all, now how do certain people, I answer my own question. I was going to say, how do certain people get away with this? He said, well, your parents are coming to pick you up. You can't stay here, and it's best for you to go. I can't leave here. I can't leave my daughter. He said, well, I'm glad that the cops are here because you need to leave while they're here. Because if you don't leave and they leave, I'm going to jail or you're going to jail. Sean let her know. Sean was ready. He wanted to put hands. I don't condone that. I hate that. But watching Kendra manipulate Lauren. As I said, Lauren had folded into herself. When he was telling her that she had to leave and the grandparents were coming to get her, Lauren started to break down a little bit and cry. And then the cop was like, yeah, it's best if you don't stay here tonight. We dogging Kendra's looks. Kendra looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, we find out that Kendra had a lot of insecurities, that she's being Miss Social Butterfly to not deal with those. I'm not speaking against her. She's claiming what happened to her at 17. I don't know that I believe it. I feel like at that point, she's trying to make an excuse for herself. Her cousin, we meet the cousin, and it was a close cousin. She said, our mothers are siblings. The cousin seemed to be owning or working in a bar or something. She said, Kendra's always been like that. Now, if you look at Kendra's look, she don't look like she would be center of attention or any of that. But we hear from the cousin, Kendra's always wanted to be the center of attention. She said, if I were here talking to you and Kendra was in the corner, she'd be over there breakdancing or something. So now we know that Kendra is one of them. She would like to be the spotlight. And I think she thought that Lauren is kind of wasting everything that she was blessed with. Because Kendra and Sean mixed. Lauren was a cute girl. If for the kids that like that type, she was a cute girl. She was what people consider just a traditional cute girl. So Church 612 says she definitely did, wasn't Owen. And when she starts having hindsight and saying how she would cut his steak, I was done. Yes, we got to see Owen just as things dawned on him. That was another thing the documentary did a good job about. I guess it was good how they just kind of ease us into it. DJP said like a snap episode, just ease us into it. Like, oh, okay, it's kind of idyllic, this and that. And then the little text, and it wasn't bad, and it wasn't bad. And then worse and worse. But when Dylan was told, I couldn't believe that she would do that to me. Why would she do it to me? And I can't believe she would do that to her daughter. Because I would tell you, I liked Owen and the way that he handled Lauren. He even said at the time, I don't feel any of the things that's in these texts, and you're letting it break us up, and I don't want it to break us up. And him being 13 at the time, 14 at the time, I thought that was pretty mature for him to still try to date his girlfriend, even though she was going through all those things, and it eventually did break them up. Not that they would have been that couple that would have been homecoming king and queen and then married, and then 30 years later telling us that they met in high school. Not that that would have happened, but who's to say it couldn't have if Kendra had not meddled. And the other thing about Owen, when he was thinking back and saying, yeah, she would try to spend on me if we would go somewhere. She was always paying attention, making sure I'm okay. Now, all of these kids are supposed to be Kendra's baby. She's known since they were kids, and they've known her daughter. But she's fixated on Owen. And then with the sexual nature of the text and the tearing down of her own daughter and trying to get her own daughter to delete herself. And then him saying she would pay special attention and cut his steak. And we know, I'm not going to get into one of my political rants or political minutes, but in this country, there's been something unleashed, and maybe it was electing a predator, but there are people that want to normalize 13 and 14-year-old sexual activity. If that is the case between each other, okay, Kendra, as a grown woman, interjected sexual talk about her own daughter and the daughter's little minor boyfriend. And with the charges being text harassment or social media, whatever they called it, they were so light, nothing about the sexual comments. And I'm sorry, if this were a dad fixated on Lauren and sending her all kind of texts like that, I think that they could have seen a way through to add some of these sexual predator type charges to this. Because to me, that was the worst part of it. And then the demographics. Sean kind of wanted to get busy a little bit, but of course he couldn't do that. I'm glad he did it. But the demographics, I think with Jill and Kendra being at each other's house and all this kind of stuff, if the people had looked like me, I honestly think hands would have been put on somebody at that point, especially when Chloe they suggested it was her. And then throwing carrots at the little cousin. She became a suspect. That was another very sad part. When she was questioned by that country officer, she said, I'm afraid of the police. I could be driving. I'm not doing anything. I'm just driving. And I'm afraid. So those kids went through that for almost 2 years. They're being pulled aside. They're questioned. All the other little friends start to point at them and wonder if they're the one that did it. what Kendra did to her so-called friends, her daughter, the destruction of her own family, Sean, her parents, how humiliated was that to pick up this grown tail, ignorant woman lusting after this 13, 14-year-old boy? Because they show Owen as he was older when they were getting ready to graduate, because this went on a few years. But the little pictures of them when they first started dating, their little faces together, they were 12 and 13 and 14 years old. Kendra is a menace. She is disgusting, y'all. She is a degenerate. Terrible. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm missing some of these comments. I have to go back. I thought that, but you said she might have had it and just he dealt with it. Oh, I'm not sure. The alcoholism, I think both of them had something going on, which what attracted them to each other. And then he's one of them hands-off people until everything in the house, they lost everything. Poor Lauren almost lost her mind. Thank goodness she's still with us. One of the texts, when it started going at Owen, he said, "This is making me suicidal." And then she like kind of backed up off of him a little bit. Jill was still very concerned. Jill and Owen in court, Kenya immediately starts, "Ooh, I don't know what happened. This happened to me. That happened to me." And the judge said, "You're going to do some prison time." Now, I didn't like what he gave her. We got someone that was from the school let us know. He said the charges would be anywhere from 19 months to 24 months. The judge hit her with the higher end, like 19 months. And I could see she caused maybe 15 months, 19 months, 2 years of all kind of strife in that small town among friends, family, ruined their high school year. They'll never forget this. She's caused all kind of problems. But it did go on for 2 years, but they're still dealing with the aftermath. And she was able to write and call her daughter throughout. Now, I didn't like the fact that she's still, I don't say that she shouldn't be in her daughter's life, because Lauren was asked the question, well, what do you think about people saying that maybe you shouldn't still be as close with your mom? She said, I don't care what they think. I can understand why she didn't want to lose Kendra, because that's her mother. I can understand why she didn't want to lose her. But I think it's hard for Lauren to heal. And Kendra was playing with this girl's mental. I think it's hard for her to heal with this lady still in her life. She is a manipulator, a master manipulator. Girl, the state. And going to his games out of state. Yes, going to the games out of state. Actually, the out of state thing, that's one of the things that she got a little too cute. When they were blaming Chloe and her family, they took off to Florida. So they went and they took a little trip to Florida, and a couple of the texts ended up coming with the Florida number. So now they were really looking at Chloe, and that's when the guy said, we're going to dump your phone. And when they dumped the phone, there were matching numbers that came, and then the FBI did more investigation, and Kendra had 2 devices with that number, laptop and her phone. Oh my goodness, here Trust 612 reminded DJP, still going to the games after they broke up was too much. Yes, that's how I think it alarmed Jill, the fact that she was still going to the games after they broke up. So Lauren don't deal with him no more, but you at the boy games. And then also contacting the new girlfriend's mother. So Kendra has a problem. Oh, she's the network specialist at JTP. Yes, cutting his steak took me out. Me too. Just too much. You know what? This lady, yeah, DJP, there was so much going on that it may warrant another watch. He told her to call the parents, and she was stalling and called real quick. Yeah, Kendra, she was a trip. Yeah, Sean got her ass up out of there. Yeah, for his own safety too. I could understand what he was saying when he was like, okay, you need to leave while the cops are here, because if you don't do that, you going to jail, I'm going to jail. Yeah, he knew he would get drunk and lay hands on her. All them bottles, I couldn't believe it, the whole table. She caused so much harm to their child. She did. And now Kendra sounds like Tamar. Yeah, those people, once they start become a victim, all of that crying and a face full of tears after all the havoc you've wreaked, lady, and had the nerve to get out of jail. Oh yeah, that cousin let them know. Yeah, the cousin, I thought it was odd that she said that they're not, Kendra kind of like, she stopped being in touch with her. And then the documentary trying to redeem her a little bit. She started talking about after she and Sean got married, when she went in to get her first ultrasound and the little flutter of the heartbeat. None of that touched my heart because I feel like, lady, you were trying to get your daughter to delete herself. And what she did was just terrible. Network specialists, I hate to say that, this is more common than we think, mothers being jealous of their daughters. Yes, I think that is very common. This lady, she has just taken it to a degree, a criminal degree that we have not seen. A criminal degree. Y'all, let me tell you, Kendra made me want to slap her when she was sitting there saying, oh, after this comes out, people are going to think that I'm just a criminal, but everybody's committed some kind of crime. She tried to equate. She said, if someone's driven drunk and they didn't get caught, then they have committed a crime like me. She can't equate her crime to somebody even drinking and driving and making it home safe and not getting caught, when if they had gotten caught, they should have gone to jail. That's not what Kendra did. And that's why I bring up the part of her sending those explicit texts to teens. I'm shocked that she didn't find some kind of way to send a picture of her old stink booty. I'm shocked that she didn't find some kind of way to do that, but she would have been outed had she done that. There was another stupid thing she did, even though she was in tech. Owen, when he received a picture, well, he received something for Christmas, and I think the cousin took a picture of it. I don't know how Kendra accessed the phones, but I think she would access the kids' phones too. I think they came up when they were in practice and stuff. She would access the phones and she would text as her daughter sometime from her own phone. So the whole unknown number thing, that was just so she could get more graphic and crazy. But she ended up, took a picture of a present that Owen got, and that ended up in an unknown number. Oh, I like that, the phone cover you got, or something like that. She got a little too kind of comfortable the longer she went without being caught. I think, in my opinion, that since she was female predator, they don't get treated the way a man would doing the same thing. Yeah, I think we need to get out of that as a country, because honestly, a woman predator, I'm not going to say it's worse. It's not worse. They're equally terrible. But a woman predator, because of the way that she's able to move under the radar like that, because a man, we have a sense of kind of suspicion in some of these men. Like, you don't let little girls be sitting on their lap and that sort of thing, even family. So we have a healthy suspicion. But with women, I don't think it would even cross people's mind that a woman would do something like that. If Kendra could have found some kind of way, and she was trying, cutting his steak and following his games, she was trying to kind of maneuver closer to him. Luckily, his dance card was always filled with girls his age. But just imagine if she had been able to get hands on him, or if she had maybe looked differently, or if he had been a different type kid and wasn't just checking for girls his own age. She easily could have pulled a Mary Kayla Turner on him. Absolutely. Yeah, DJP, my moderator, agrees. She said that it is a double standard. It is a double standard. And what's going on in this country where they're trying to just relax the ages to the point where it's not even something that's that bad. This lady trying to compare somebody, or if you drive over the speed limit and you don't get caught. Lady, that is not the same thing. That's disgusting. And I like the fact that now we are calling out people. Kendra is a predator. And it may have took people a lot of years to say, this other person, he's a predator. This one's a predator. But now we're calling it out. I watched the Epstein victims on the steps of the Capitol the other day. Nothing has happened yet, but we're calling it out. Exactly. Trish 612, she is a predator, and they didn't focus on that. I didn't like that network specialist, and the fact that they tried to help her kind of clean up her image a little bit. You know, any assault, I do feel sorry about, especially as a teen. So if that happened to her, that's terrible. But that is no excuse for what she ended up victimizing her daughter's boyfriend, Owen. None of them deserved that, but the rest of the kids, even Chloe with her rude self, for her to be treated as a suspect. The cousin and the mother, at one point, Jill was like, well, his cousin, Allison, was called in and interviewed. She could never do something like that. Oh, I think that's true too. The network specialist says no shade, but people drink a lot. When they live in small towns, there's nothing else to do. One stoplight. Yeah, I noticed that, because the girl said there's one stoplight and 2 bars. I said, why y'all got 2 bars? Y'all can't all drink together? You got one high school and 2 bars. Trish 612 think that they're depressed. I think that too. I'm going to watch again for sure. I am too. And then what I'll end up doing is probably, y'all let me know if I'm leaving anything out. I think I'm at the end. Let me see. And then if there's anything else, let's see. Oh, okay. I was taking notes on when they met with Sean. Yeah, I said Sean had his hands on his head asking which phone and then disclosed multiple phones in a laptop. The cousin outed Kendra. She said, honestly, I don't know that she ever had a job at Ferris University. So I wonder what made the cousin think that Kendra's like that, the fact that she would be so dishonest. She must have had those traits as a child. So her parents were en route. They confronted her, got the other phone, the laptop. I think I've covered everything. She said it was an emotional day in her house. It was a day of confusion, unknown answers. I don't like the way that they let this lady kind of try to redeem herself. She did go to jail. She got the 19 months. I'm glad the judge gave her even that much time, y'all, honestly, because they don't like to send them to jail. They don't. But then for her to be able to sit there and spend all of Lauren's time, that Lauren's supposed to be rebuilding her esteem and everything and her friendships, because people were suspecting Lauren. Like, she's still close with her mom and she might have had something to do with it. I don't think she had anything to do with it. I think this was Kendra from the first text to the last. I'm glad that Sean got her parents to come get her and get her up out of here. Yeah, Chloe was a bully. I think she was too. Yeah, the school was K through 12, church. The network specialist let us know that in small towns, sometimes that is the norm. So those kids will literally know each other from birth to the time they graduate. So that was part of the jealousy toward Owen and Lauren finding each other and just being, she said they were best friends. She said he was her first love. I thought that was terrible. Her parents were bullies. The cop and that big woman, they were bullies. I could tell, they said they've been at the school all the time about Chloe. People always say that about Chloe. I would kind of ring an alarm if somebody said, your child is bad. He's always having a problem. I'm like, okay, I think something's going on. Yeah, LOL. She sure did throw them carrots. Yeah, she did. She did, and they didn't know anything about it. So I didn't like her, Kendra, having like kind of the last word in the documentary. Sean, I'd like to know where he is now. I might look and see what happened. I feel like they probably got divorced. Kendra and Lauren's relationship is closer from jail. So that is crazy. And then her crazy story about trying to compare us. I said, lady, you are lying and crazy. You objectified that child and you terrorized him and your daughter. Yeah, so this is a trip. The cousin talking about how Kendra always wanted to be center of attention and wasn't able to do that. The cousin aired Kendra all the way out. She said, yeah, she was total control of the finances. She had total control of the house. She said, at one point, she said the house was struck by lightning and that she filed an insurance claim. So they just doing that. Y'all, I can say something struck my house and they just sending out these insurance checks. I'm telling you, if you look like a Kendra, I'm saying you present a certain way, you're able to get away with a lot. The only thing she didn't end up getting, thank God, was Owen, because she wanted that little boy. She had fallen in love with that little boy. That's what Mary Kay Letourneau said with, I think his name was Fuau or something. She says, oh, he looked at me one day and I just knew that he was my husband. He was like 12 when they first started, not even going together, when she first started molesting him. I'll say that. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, YouTube. Cousin said if she was here right now, she'd be dancing in the background. I hollered. Yeah, I know people like that. Church 612, my moderator, is one of my sisters. We know people like that. There are, we have different range of the spectrum as far as introverts, extroverts, but there are people in the family and outside the family. They just naturally draw attention and they could take it or leave it. But then there are those that need that attention, and we call it like the Sammy Davis Jr. dance. They're doing like a whole soft shoe, trying to be seen. And I'm naturally an introvert. I'm an introvert that actually likes people and like to study people and be around people. Until sometimes I do need to clear my head and I need my own time. But people enjoy my company. And I notice that sometimes if I'm with people that are like, they need more attention, they basically, you go ahead and do that soft shoe. I'm going to let you have it because I'm going to have fun anyway. She's laughing. She said, yeah. I'm Sandra Peace, Gen Extra. My family calls me Sand. So that's what she said. I try to fly below the radar and do. And great company as well. So yeah, Kendra, your cousin aired you all the way out. She said they grew up together. Their moms were siblings. So I guess she didn't really like Kendra. Says, yeah, if I'm here talking to you now, she'd be over there breakdancing. So Kendra's a mess. I hope she is the object of ridicule. I'd like to see maybe Owen. I know she don't have no money, but maybe sue her civilly for the abuse of him, because she was very predatory toward him. Lauren and Kendra are still close, became very close throughout jail. I might have to read it again and find out what happened with Sean. Luckily, Sean is still close with Lauren as well, because he had to keep her while she was in jail. And she wrote a letter. A lot of the people from school and everything, I was reading a news article, she wrote a letter, a character witness letter for her mom after what her mother did to her. And also the other thing I found interesting, the administrator or one of the people at the school, or maybe the FBI, they said it looked like Munchausen's proxy, where a mother, usually a mother, I guess a father could do it too, but it's usually only women I've heard about. They would make their own child sick in order for the child to get attention and for them to become center of attention. He felt like this was almost a digital Munchausen by proxy case. I think that gives Kendra too much credit of being something mental wrong with her. I think she's a predator. I think she fell in love with Owen. I think she coveted Owen, and I think she became jealous of her daughter and developed almost a hatred toward her daughter. I hope Sean still keeps an eye on Lauren and her relationship. And I think any young man that tries to love Lauren better be careful and have both of them in deep therapy. Oh, yeah, trust 612. I think so, too. She still needs to be put on blast even now, because she'll do something again. I don't trust her. I don't trust her either. Her close relationship with the school, I think at the very least, she should have been named as some type of offender on somebody's list. She needs to be on some kind of SO list. Absolutely. So we are calling it out. And I think this is one of the #1 documentaries on Netflix. So more people are watching it. A good thing about social media is that it re-triggers interest in cases. So Kendra, we don't think you're funny. We don't think you're cute. We are not sympathetic to your plight. You are disgusting. What you have done to your daughter, to Owen, to that circle of friends. Hell, even Chloe the bully over there on TikTok going, I got to get my real story. So pull Chloe the bully out the bushes. And I'm not going to call her Chloe the bully, because she might have just been not a nice girl. I've known them too. Once you put them in their place, they good too. I don't have a problem with it. But this lady wreaked havoc on this whole town for y'all 2 years. And I didn't see any people that looked like me at that school. Not that there weren't, but Kendra, you lucky that you had Jill to deal with, because you would have been dragged all over that principal's office, the administrator's office, down the hall, outside to the car. Once we find that out, you would have had a problem, Kendra. We have a case in my city. This lady took the prettiest mugshot, y'all. This Black mother went up to the school. She's having a meeting with the principal. The principal ends up getting punched in the face, y'all. I have 2 nieces that are teachers. They know how problematic white women are in education. So, and then the principal ends up losing her job a week later. So the mother has a mugshot. The principal's eye was dotted. She ended up losing her job. And if we found out that they mishandled a case of this woman's daughter coming home. School just started. She's home every day. Something's going on with her. Something's going on with her. They're bullying her. So this is a trip. So here we go. We're going to read the last few comments, everyone. Thanks for hanging with me throughout. I love being able to discuss this. We got an hour of it. So if you are here and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. My moderator, Troy612, says she definitely should be put on the list, because a lot of her tests were predatory. They were. And the attacking and trying to get her daughter to delete herself. The network specialist, she is another great creator, y'all. Just a network specialist, because there's a lot of different topics that she covers. I agree. She should have to register as a predator. She should not be allowed to be around kids. Yeah, I hope they took all of her capability to go to the school and volunteer and all that stuff. You have to fill out paperwork and get a background check. So I want her out of there. She's disgusting. Trust 612 agrees. Exactly, network specialist. Yeah, get this lady out of here. I'm going to leave that up. So that's what we think about Kendra. That's the consensus. I don't care that it was a year ago, 2 years ago. She got out of jail last summer, and we're talking about it now because Netflix has put up this documentary, and I hope it restarts whatever negativity is surrounding her, where she can go and get some deep, deep therapy, and hopefully Lauren can continue to get help. And we'll leave that part up about her registering as a predator. Shouldn't be allowed to be around kids. Everybody, thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. This was a really good live. I appreciate that. I appreciate being able to talk to all of you that have seen this crazy, crazy documentary. So you had the trigger alert. You had the spoiler alert. So if there were anything you missed and you want to just skip back through it, do that or either look up the news coverage of it, because yeah, we need to start talking about these women, certain people like Kendra that try to do what they do, and out them, because what she did was not cute. Gonna watch again? Yeah. And Network Special says yes, it was crazy. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you for so much for stopping by Sandra P's Gen Extra. I will see you in the YouTube streets. Good night, everybody.